Hi, welcome to Manas Shield YouTube channel. Before we start, kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you. Let's start the video. If you haven't watched the previous video, I'll link it in the description box, or you can click here. Tensura Volume 19. Chapter 2. The Beginning of the Great War. Milim Force vs. Insect Generals. Gabel bowed to Milim and left to take command. The only ones left were Milim, a bear, and Esprit. "You're not going?" When Esprit is asked, she reluctantly spoke her mind. "To be honest, I am not good enough, so I think it's safer to watch the battle situation carefully, and join someone else's support. If I overexert myself and end up losing, I'll only be dragging us down." It was a very wise decision. For once, Esprit was not slacking off. "You're right. If you underestimate the insect generals, you'll get hurt. I don't have much experience in fighting them, but I know that they're not ones to be taken lightly." In fact, many of her friends had been killed by insectors. In particular, the one named Zess, whom Carrion was headed towards, was said to be a challenge even for Zelario. In all honesty, a bear herself could not be sure that she would win against him. Therefore, the three remaining members decided to wait and see how the battle would go. Carrion, who had taken the lead, was the first to meet the enemy. A hindrance. And with that, she beat up and killed a bunch of enemies at once, running across the battlefield. At the other end of the field, she fired her golden gun at Zess, who was standing calmly. But Zess easily avoided it. Even a supersonic bullet at close range was nothing more than an insignificant toy to Zess. "Wow, you're not bad." Carrion was impressed. She transformed the golden gun into a military sword with a golden blade. "I'm Carrion, the one who will reap your life." "Nonsense. Such a joke, you'll have to wait until I'm on my feet before you can talk like that." With those words, the battle had begun. Fray jumped out at the same time as Carrion, and without waiting for orders, the heavenly flying group, Tensura, surrounded her. Naturally, Milim's guards followed suit. They were not entirely dedicated to escorting Milim, but this was not a problem, because their roles changed in wartime. In the first place, Milim did not need guards. Now that a bear was still there, Fray could rampage without worry. So, while kicking flying insects to the curb, Fray made contact with Torin. Torin was an insect general with a shiny metallic exoskeleton to protect himself. He was stocky, and not very smart. Looking closer, he was surprisingly large, reaching a height of 2 meters. However, he was a powerful creature that should not be underestimated. By using his 2 pairs of wings like a dragonfly, he was able to freely fly in a variety of ways. Fray realized that Torin was troublesome when he evaded her just as she thought she had struck her first blow. Torin had dodged her claws from a high-speed flight, while still staying in the air. This was due to the difference in the way they flew, and Torin seemed to have the advantage in aerial combat. Torin's compound eyes could catch Fray's movements, as if they were in slow motion. Although Torin was inferior to Fray in terms of straight-line speed, he could easily predict where Fray would move, making evasion a simple matter. Torin did not possess any special skills. His power was divided between the strength of his exoskeleton, predicting the future, and his flight speed. Although simple, Torin had a very strong ability composition. In particular, the nature of his fists was a special bio-organic steel material called aleonium, and his strength surpassed even that of adamantite. It was strong enough to reach the mythical grade level. Equipped with all the important elements of combat, reaction speed, defense, and offense, Torin was inferior to Fray in terms of existence value, but superior in terms of combat ability. Fray, who had planned to take out the enemy general at full speed, was about to suffer a major miscalculation. However, Torin made a mistake at this point. Kishishishishi. "You, slow. Me, fast." Ha. With this single comment, Fray lost her temper. Milim would speak of this later. Fray was by no means a mild-mannered person. Anyone who made stupid remarks would soon learn, firsthand, how foolish they were. Because Milim was always being scolded, her words carried a lot of weight. And Torin would soon understand the meaning of these words with his own flesh. Gabel was following Fray with the Hiryu in tow. "Everyone, the enemy is an insector, the same species as Zijin Dono and Apido Dono. I think you all understand how strong they are, but you must not let your guard down." Gabel's loud warning was met with white nods from his subordinates. They had always been beaten severely during their training in the labyrinth. Everyone was aware of the danger and remained overly vigilant. Kakishin, Sukuru, and Yoshichi followed Gabel as he swept away the swarm of insects that filled the sky with his breath. Hey, Gabel-sama. Are you going to help Free-sama? If she's struggling, then I'd be happy to help. Gabel seemed uncomfortable with Yoshichi's question. He thought that Free would not be pleased. Rather, there was someone else he was worried about. Gabel-sama, there's someone over there who seems dangerous. Sukuru had discovered the person Gabel had been worried about. Yes. He looks vaguely like a pedo dono, but I sense a more vicious presence. And Kakishin responded with a similar reaction to Gabel's concern. That's right, Gabel had also perceived his existence to be a greater threat than a pedo. A pedo's existence value was lower than Gabel's, but when it came to combat, they were practically even. His odds of winning were not that high, and he was always forced to fight his hardest. And yet, the presence of this creature was more frightening than a pedo. Gabel's instincts told him. This guy is dangerous. The creature's name was Beethip. He was an insect general with the characteristics of a bee and a grasshopper. Gabel was at a loss as to what to do. Even if it was only him, he would still be in a position to take care of the lives of his subordinates. Because Rimuru had ordered him not to die, he felt that he should not try to fight a battle that he could not win. Although he had been carried away by Carrion's and Nidalee's enthusiasm, Gabel was not that much of a fighter. He wanted to test his skills as a warrior, but he did not want to fight for his life. Besides, if I were to get seriously injured here, Sako might shut me out. I made her cry the last time, and it is unimaginable how much trouble I had to go through to get her to change her mood. Gabel wept over the bitter memories. There was such a thing as battle compatibility, so there was no need to give up the advantage of being able to fly. He didn't need to go to the trouble of challenging a dangerous opponent here, so he could just find an easier opponent to beat. Gabel thought as such, and went to find another general. However, that was too naive. Hey, don't run away. Beethip was a formidable insect general. In an instant, he had closed the distance between them, and was floating in front of Gabel. What? Gabel was able to react to Beethip's kick a moment later, because he was accustomed to a pedo's speed. In addition, the vortex spear had been raised to a mythical grade performance level, and was able to withstand the kick. Beethip, like Torin, also had the exoskeleton of his limbs turned into Ilionium. The same was true of the vital parts of his head and torso. He had a slender body, and his flight speed exceeded that of Torin's. He was an insect general with cheat-like combat abilities. While his defense was equal to Torin's, his attack was greater than his. Even if they were to simply compare existence values, he was superior to Gabel. Free would have been a more fitting opponent, and it was a heavy load for Gabel. However, in this situation, there was no way to escape. The only way to survive was to fight and win, and Gabel had made up his mind. There is no shortage of opponents. My name is Gabel. I have been entrusted with the title of Dragon Lord by Rimuru-sama. Gabel said as such and confronted Beethip. Carrion ran across the land. He was followed by an insect general whose back was covered with spider-like limbs. My name is Bart. I kill. Spit it out. Don't talk about things you can't do. As they ran, a battle was raging between them. The divine Carrion's strength was not half bad. If it had been a one-on-one match without thinking about the future, he would have already unleashed a burst roar and defeated a Bart long ago. But that was not the case, because this was a battlefield. There were other insect generals in the area, and he couldn't show them his secret moves. Besides, unlike in the labyrinth, death was the end. The most important thing in a battle was to survive, so he had to find a way to fight without overworking himself, while also preserving his strength. He made this decision because he thought that his opponent was a lower rank than him. In the face of a truly powerful opponent, Carrion would have given it his all without thinking about the consequences. But instinctively, Carrion did not doubt his victory. A Bart's existence value was less than half of Carrion's. Like the other insect generals, a Bart had a combat-focused ability structure, but so did Carrion. In this battle, Carrion had the advantage. The one Nidalee encountered was Cyril. His body was drenched in a seemingly poisonous liquid. Needless to say, his reddish-purple exoskeleton was made of Alionium. And from his tail, oozed a deadly poison that would kill anybody who touched it. The poisonous scorpion, Sasori, Cyril. It was a difficult opponent for those who excelled in hand-to-hand combat. But that didn't apply to Nidalee. That's a problem. Kekiki. You one unlucky bastard to be standing before me. Unlucky. You seem to be mistaken, so I'll tell you, but in a battle, luck is not a factor. It is true that there are phenomena in the world such as lucky punches and giant killings, with lower-ranked fighters defeating higher-ranked fighters. However, such feats are the result of hard work, and they are achieved by those who have honed their own unique weapons that can be used against their superior. It is not worth the effort if something like that is reduced to mere luck, is it not? What are you trying to say, bastard? I'll put it simply. I am strong. And as soon as he said that, Nidalee disappeared. No, rather. With an instant move that Cyril's perception could not catch, he closed the distance in an instant. Cyril was blown away, the result of Nidalee's fist smashing into his face. It hurts a little, but you get used to it. Nidalee's fist was smoking purple as he muttered this. It was Cyril's poison. Nidalee's entire body was covered in a protective barrier of energy from the battle will. The poison was so deadly that it could have corroded it, but Nidalee didn't care. Well, what the hell is wrong with you? You've been poisoned by me, and you don't give a damn. It's my fighting spirit. If I couldn't do this much, I wouldn't be Milim Sama's sparring partner. Nidalee shouted. Regardless of the logic, it was loud enough to upset Cyril. At first glance, Nidalee didn't look very strong. So Cyril was confused. No, that's crazy. There's no way he can hit my exoskeleton with his bare hands and be safe. So then, what the hell is going on? Despite his thoughts, Cyril still believed his victory to be unwavering. There was no way that a mere fragile human could harm him, an insect general. But that was naive thinking. Nidalee. Although he may look human, his true nature was of a true dragonite, like Gabel. Moreover, normally, Nidalee completely concealed his abilities with battle will, but his existence value was actually twice that of Gabel's. Now, against Cyril, Nidalee would show his true colors. Geld returned to the front and spoke to his subordinates. Our job is to make sure no enemies get through. Yes. All the generals responded to Geld's order with great enthusiasm. There was no fear on their faces, and they looked coldly at the approaching enemies. The enemy forces were of various shapes and sizes. They looked as if they had been transformed into monsters by incorporating the features of large insects. There were few humanoid forms, but strangely enough, the closer they looked to human form, the stronger they seemed to be. At that moment, Geld's gaze settled on a single point. A figure was sitting on the back of a huge centipede, over 30 meters in length. Judging by the overwhelming presence, he guessed that it was definitely one of the insect generals. I will deal with him. Geld muttered, and several of his subordinates nodded. Good luck. With those voices at his back, Geld took a step forward. Esprit picked up her sword. Milim called out to her as she headed to the window. Are you going? Ah, yes. Carrion seems to be struggling, so I thought I'd help out even in a small way. Esprit replied in a casual tone, as if she was going for a walk. As she observed from there, Insect General S, who was dealing with Carrion, had a fearsome fighting ability. Moreover, Peliad was blocking Carrier's magic, and she was on the defensive. She could no longer stand idly by and watch, just because she was weak. Therefore, Esprit took out her hidden sword without hesitation. It was a sword forged by Kurobi, and it was a legendary grade weapon. Esprit, who had always believed that anything other than magic was useless to a demon, was now learning to use the sword in secret. Esprit's boss, Carrion, was addicted to this hobby, so she wanted to keep that in mind as a subordinate. And, more than that, the experience of fighting with a Jer had caught Esprit's interest. Esprit thought it would be interesting for a demon to specialize in swordsmanship, and began to secretly work on the development of magic swordplay. It wasn't really ready for actual use, but now was not the time for that. Peliad's anti-magic ability was so great that Esprit could not penetrate it. It was a humiliating fact, but it was true. So, she decided to use her magic sword instead of magic. Well, the enemy doesn't seem to care about one-on-one, so we have to make a move, right? That's why I'm going to head out for a while. Milim smiled as she said so cheerfully. Go and do your best. And so, with Milim seeing her off, Esprit set off for the battlefield. Now, only Milim and a bear remained in the castle tower of Free's prided skyscraper. Here, a bear opened her mouth. Well then, Milim Sama, I will head on out as well. You're not hurt anymore. I am sorry to have caused you concern. I am already healed, so please do not worry. You're so stubborn. A bear chuckled when she heard Milim's exasperated voice. It's in my nature. And, as you may have already noticed, it's the source of that sticky feeling enveloping the battlefield, right? Yes. A bear nodded, her expression tightening. Insect Lord Zelanis is incredibly strong. I'm afraid I'm no match for him, so please be very careful. In truth, it would be best if Milim never had to come into play. However, a bear guessed that, if Zelanis made a move, there would be nothing they could do to stop him. So, although unwillingly, they had no choice but to rely on Milim. Therefore, she wanted to reduce the number of the enemy generals as soon as possible. Just now, a bear's eyes had caught sight of a single, free-roaming insect general. It was Tishorn with both hands turned into sharp blades. She thought she should take them out and use the momentum to cover the others. Now, it was a race against time. She wanted to take out as many generals as possible before Zelanis could move. However, the enemy's strength was too unknown for that to be easy. From what I can tell, there are some dangerous ones out there. A bear, please help me get them all back, safely. By your will. A bear was filled with elation. How pleasant it was to be commanded by her lord. Unlike the previous battles, where she had fought out of a sense of duty, this time she felt as if her strength was swelling from the bottom of her heart. I see. I wonder if it was the same for all of you. If so, I wish I could have rewarded you with more. She felt deeply sentimental, but that was only for a moment. The fact that a bear was alive now was the result of the wishes of her dear subordinates. If so, she could not stand still. I will go. The results of the battle, I'll be expecting them. With Milim's encouragement, a bear also headed to the battlefield. And so, the Great War grew even more fierce. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoy it.